Hi, my name is Randy Sharp and I want to welcome you to dinner party tonight, because that's what you're going to do for 4 people who have never been to a better dinner party. Tonight we're doing classic chicken dinner, which consists of a roast chicken, a beautiful potato dish, a very naughty vegetable dish, homemade pickles, and a fancy pastry that your friends will think you bought, but you didn't. We're going to serve at 7:30. And we're starting prep, which should be completed by 4 p.m. on the day of your party. You can do it. Do you want a chicken dinner? So the first thing we're going to do is prepare a chicken. When you brought it home from the store, you did not put it in the refrigerator, because nothing in life should be cooked out of the refrigerator. Everything should be room temperature. So the first thing we're going to do is take your raw chicken. Now, contrary to what you've heard on the television, it's not toxic, flaring machine that sprays disease everywhere. But you do have to rinse it. Take the gizzards out, which come in a little pack like this, and they're in the cavity of the chicken. Usually it's not garbage, but today it is garbage because we're not making stuffing or anything, so you just throw them out. And just rinse your chicken. Then you're going to grab your prepared tray, which is just a roasting tray with a tinfoil bottom. Shake the chicken like this and place it in your roasting dish like that. Okay? Here's another good tip. Cooking something that's wet is not going to brown, crisp, or look nice. It'll never really brown. So you want to dry it with a paper towel inside and out like that. What you're going to do now is cut the excess fat off the opening of the cavity, okay? So just take a pair of scissors, and you see this kind of thing? You don't want that. You want to make the opening clean. So you cut that like this and throw it out, so the opening is clean like that. We're going to season the chicken, and the first thing you're going to do is take one of the lemons, which you've purchased and washed because they're covered in wax, and you're going to roll it like this to make it more juicy, all right? Cut it, take half of it and shove it into the cavity. Cut side facing out. Then you're gonna take a handful of the herbs that you bought, shove them in. Handful of parsley, it doesn't matter what it looks like, just crunch it up in your hands, shove it in. A little bit of thyme, doesn't matter how big. Shove it in, okay? Close the opening so that it looks like that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is tie the chicken's legs together. Cross its legs. You know, you can't be squeamish. Take a piece of string and tie a knot. That just keeps some of the moisture and the juice in the cavity. Cut the ends, not because of any real reason, but because they'll burn. And now, we're going to cover the entire chicken in olive oil. Don't be shy. It's its last nice moment. It's getting a massage. And you're going to liberally salt and pepper your chicken, and this is liberal. Okay? This is the difference between really good and slightly good. You want to have enough pepper that you visually see it. Take another lemon, cut it in half and squirt. Take that lemon that you squirted and set it here. When it heats, it will release lemon steam on your chicken. Same with the other half. Now this fellow or lady is ready to go and rest while we do the rest of our preparation. The first thing you're going to do is take your cucumbers, and you're going to just give them a pretty good rinse. And you're going to take them over to your cutting board, dry them off. And we're going to use the deadliest instrument in your kitchen, which is a mandolin. You can use a knife. It's easy, you know, right? But the mandolin makes uniform thin slices. The problem is you'll take your hand off. See that? Don't let it go below this point. You will cut your hand. I'm sorry. So go slow, and when it gets down to here, stop. I received for Christmas a Kevlar glove. so I can take it down to the nub. This makes a pretty thin slice, pretty thin pickle. I'm going to do one pickle on the mandolin, and I'm going to do one with a knife. So I am going to take this down because I have the glove. Ta-da! And I'm going to cut the other one. You want to kind of hunker down on it. You know, like you're in charge of it. It's not in charge of you. Look, perfect. Okay? Put those pieces of your pickle in a common sieve, comme ça. And you are then going to cover these with so much salt that you're going to think that I'm nuts, okay? And what you're doing is starting the pickling process by drawing the liquid out of the veg, okay? Watch this, you're going to die. It's a lot of salt. I use Maldon salt. It tastes really good and the flakes are huge. Wow, that's a lot of salt, you thought. Whoa, that's a lot of salt. Holy cow! Oh my God. It should be not edible, okay? That's a lot of salt. Set this in a bowl because you're gonna see the most incredible thing happening, which the amount of liquid that comes out of it is really profound. And what you're doing is kind of crisping them in a weird way. So leave this for at least 30 minutes. And we're gonna make a dish called Finzi Contini, which has no bearing on anything in the dish. The Finzi Continis were an Italian family about whom a movie was made who harbored Jews from the Nazis during the Second World War. This is a vegetable preparation where you put toasted breadcrumbs with garlic and rosemary onto your given vegetable. Basically not related to Jew-saving Italians. However, I call it Finzi Contini because it's quicker than saying toasted breadcrumbs with garlic and rosemary. You're gonna get rid of that. You don't need that. Take this. Does that look like broccoli that you've eaten? It doesn't. You wanna do that. So it looks like what you've seen on your plate. That's all you're doing is recreating what you've seen on your plate. This, I ate wrong. Right. We're basically going to do the same exact thing with the cauliflower, which is also a cruciform, meaning it has these little florets. The first thing you do with the cauliflower is cut it in half, okay? And then you see that it has a stalk, almost like a tree in the center. Cut out the stalk like that. Pull, oh look, look! It looks like a piece of cauliflower you may have eaten at some point. Like that. Perfect. We're gonna put it in with the broccoli. Oh my God, they're gonna intermingle. It's interspecies. Cats and dogs living together. And you have a lovely mixture of broccoli and cauliflower. I'm gonna show you, I use these pans. You know how much these cost? Like maybe $5. They're called hotel pans. You can get them at any restaurant supply. They're not beautiful, but I use them every day. Take your vegetables and look. Wow. Should look like that. Fresh and beautiful. Set aside. Now we're going to talk about mise en place, which is sort of the end of your pre-prep section completed by 4 p.m. Mise en place means simply put in place. Sounds like a fancy thing, but it's really not. Basically what you're doing is getting out everything that you need to make your dinner before you're cooking. There's nothing worse than, where's that thing? And then running to do that when you're actually cooking. You don't want to do that. Sugar, put it in something. Don't put the bag, put it in something where it's easy to pour it. Get your olive oil out. Thyme flowers, chopped shallot, a couple of peeled garlics, and capers that I just poured out of the bottle of capers, poured them through my fingers and discarded the juice, most of it. I love capers. And then this is thyme flowers, which you're basically just taking a piece of thyme, and you can use dried if you don't want it, and you're just gonna pull down like this, like you used to do to pine leaves when you were a kid. Throw this away, it's too hard. You can't cook with it. So there's your thyme flowers. You also want to add just a sprig of washed and dried rosemary. Breadcrumbs. I highly recommend never, ever using pre-made breadcrumbs. They're full of chemicals. Even some pankos are full of chemicals. And it's way too fine. It's too fine. It's like putting sand on what you're cooking. If you do have a food processor, you want to make sure that what you're not doing is pulverizing it into sand, because that's not, it has no flavor. And you're just putting on some nasty, sandy, dried bread thing. That's not cute. You don't want that. Put it in the food processor like this and go. Okay, trust me, that's what you want. We're doing all of this before 4. This should stay out uncovered so it dries a little bit. You want it to dry a little bit. So here we are. There's our breadcrumbs, Mise for short. Last thing you should do is just rinse your fruit. Just put it in a sieve that you've cleaned. We're using blackberries. They're very tender and beautiful. They're like beautiful, beautiful gemstones, and you don't want to smash them with water. Just rinse them a little bit, let them drain, and then put them in a bowl. Put it near your mise en place, and you're ready to go after 4 for a dinner party tonight. Twin boys born 24 days apart. Question mark. JetBlue has first class now. Jeez. Did you hear about the shark that got eaten by the huge shark?
Yes, I did read about that.
It is now past 4 o'clock. You've done all your pre-prep. Your guests are arriving at 7 for a 7:30 sit down. The first thing you're going to do after you've taken your little break, hopefully, is turn your oven on. Turn your oven on to 400, and your kitchen's going to get hot, especially if you have a small kitchen. Making your oven hot to start cooking now is the way to go, okay? So, put your oven to 400. Then we're going to begin by macerating fruit. Macerating means cooking, essentially, with sugar or salt. And you can make a dessert that is simply macerated fruit, and this is how you do it. Take some sugar. It's really easy. Like that amount of cover, okay? Move it around. Every single piece of fruit should be completely dusted in sugar. Then do it again. Okay? Looks like that. Another great thing to add to this is vanilla. Most people have vanilla essence, which is a liquid. Something I'd love you to look for is called vanilla paste. This is a massive bottle. You can get small bottles. What it is vanilla essence with the seeds so that it's very black, you'll see. And if you look at it, I don't know if you can see that, it has the little tiny dots of vanilla seeds in it. Okay, this is creme de cassis, which is a blackberry liquor. You can use vodka, you can use creme de cassis, you can use bourbon, brandy, anything you want. Makes like a gooey, nasty, sugary, gloppy mess like that. We are now going to prepare the Finzi Contini to be cooked. Basically what you're going to do is take olive oil and salt and pepper, and you're going to make them taste good. If something tastes good before you cook it, it's guaranteed that it's going to taste good when you cook it. So you take olive oil and liberally cover it like you're making a salad almost. So hit it. Shake it around. Beautiful, glistening. Taste one. Delicious. Now you're going to salt and pepper. Liberal. Pepper, same thing, visible. Okay. Shake it around. This Finzi Contini is ready for the oven. I'm just going to tell you straight off the bat, famous chefs use packaged puff pastry. There is no shame in it. The process of making puff pastry is not very skilled, and it takes a ton of time, and nobody makes it, okay? It comes frozen, and you must put it in the refrigerator to defrost. You cannot defrost it on the counter because it gets very gummy and sticky. So the minute you get home and you're unpacking your groceries, put your puff pastry in the refrigerator. Okay, I'm gonna take the puff pastry out because it's been in there for a couple hours. I'm gonna take it out of the box. You wanna make sure you're using a surface that's not hot, like wood, not so great. You wanna try to find something that's a little bit cooler than the room. I'm lucky to have marble. You unwrap this, it looks like this. Don't be scared, okay? It looks like this. And if you go like that, you'll see that it's actually folded in half like a book. It opens like that, okay? Down on your counter. Take the top piece off. Take the bottom piece off. In advance, you have a little bowl of flour. Take a small amount of flour and sprinkle it on whatever surface you're using. Put the pastry back down. Now, if it gets warm, it's very hard to work with. So you got to do this somewhat quickly. Little bit of flour. If you use too much flour, you have huge pieces of raw flour, which you don't want. Don't be afraid of it. It's just pastry. Take your rolling pin. You can use a wine bottle. You can use anything in your house that's round, okay? And you're just going to make it a little bit bigger than it is. Just a little bit thinner and a little bit bigger. Pick it up and move it occasionally so that it's not stuck. Just make it a little bit bigger, working quickly. Working quickly. All right? It's about that thick. You can't see me through it, but it's bigger than it was when I initially set it down. Cut it into 4 squares. Then you're going to get your lined baking sheet. It's lined with 2 sheets of tin foil because this makes an unholy wreck of whatever pan you are using. Take your 4 squares and place them on here. You're going to take your apricot jelly and you're going to plop apricot jelly down in the center of each one. You're going to kill with this. And just roll it around. Don't get too nutty or precious with it. You want like a nice smear of it. And then you're going to put this back in the fridge. Now we're going to make the pickles. Your pickles have been draining and you will look and notice this huge amount of liquor that came off of it. You're going to rinse the hell out of them. Taste one to make sure you got the salt out. It's fine. Take a jar. These are cheap ball jars, they're called. They're kind of cute because they're old-fashioned looking. This is really, really easy. Put the pickles into the jar. You're going to put in some white wine vinegar. Try not to use red vinegar because it'll stain it. Pour in some vinegar. If you really need a measurement, half a cup. Okay. Fill up the rest of the jar with water. Taste it. Does it taste pickly? Then what you're going to do is adjust it until it tastes like pickle juice. Does it need more of this? Does it need more water? Do I need to start again? Just make it taste like delicious pickle juice. You'll understand. And then anything you have in your kitchen, whole coriander, dried herb de Provence, whole mustard seeds. These are pink peppercorns, they're fancy. If you want, you can even put a few of these cut shallots in here. Seriously, you just made pickles chic. So we're now going to make this beautiful potato dish that turns out flawlessly every single time. In America, I believe they call it potatoes au gratin, but the nice name is Pommes Boulangère, essentially scalloped potatoes. So you're going to get your dish. Now in this case, the dish that you are cooking it in is the dish you will serve it in. So think of that, okay? I'm using this beautiful copper dish. is we're gonna slice these potatoes using the deadly mandolin, and we're gonna scallop them in a scallop shape in the bottom of this pan. So I'm just gonna do this very quickly for you. You're just gonna make a pattern that you've seen in a million photographs. Anybody can do this, okay? You're just gonna make an overlapping scalloped design, comme ça. I said that because it's a French dish. Here we go. Keep going. If you have half ones, don't worry about it. Put them in like that. The mandolin, sometimes if you angle it incorrectly, it makes little half moons. I don't know why. There's a layer. Beautiful. Then, sprinkle herbs, your thyme florets that you made in your mise en place. Sprinkle cut shallots. And then, here's the naughty part. You're going to go to your refrigerator and get the cream. And you're basically going to put a little bit of cream in each layer, like this. And a little bit of stock. You use the stock and the cream to create the liquid that the potatoes are going to cook in. Thyme, chopped shallots, salt, and pepper. Here we go, layer number 2. A little bit of thyme, a little bit of shallots, a little bit of cream, a little bit of stock. Now you don't want them floating when you're preparing this. They shouldn't be floating. It should be a small amount. Now at Christmas time, I also put little knobs of butter. I mean, can you imagine? That's like ridiculous. Here's an important fact. The top layer is your presentation layer. So make the top layer the prettiest layer because it's the one that people see. They don't really care what's underneath. So I'm going to try and make these really good slices. Also be aware that mandolins cut up and down. So I'm covering up the half moons with full pieces. Okay, final layer. So we do nice shallots. Use up all your shallots here. It's basically one shallot finely chopped. Use up the rest of your thyme. A little bit of cream. Oh, a little bit of stock with a little bit of stock. A little bit of pepper, tiny bit of salt. People can always re-salt it if they need it. Okay, here's the trick. When you tilt the pan, you don't want to see liquid in the corner right away. That's perfect. I'm now putting this aside. What we're going to use these beautiful macerated berries for is a puff pastry packet, which is puff pastry that you've defrosted that has a little bit of apricot jelly in the bottom, and we're going to make it into a beautiful little rustic packet and bake it. So it's a little sort of Blackberry Puff Pastry Packet, pastry packet. You might want to squirt a little bit of lemon juice in here too, by the way. You know, just to make it a little bit more liquid. And a little, it's pretty sweet, but it's like, man, is it good. Give it a little stir, because you want the really macerated ones that are on the bottom to come, look at this, to come onto the top. And it looks cooked. If you look at it, it looks like a piece of cooked fruit. And it also tastes incredible, like a piece of cooked fruit. So stir that up, make sure it's nice and nasty. And let's take stock, because you should be pretty impressed with yourself, and I'm not kidding. Potatoes ready to be cooked. Finzi Contini ready to go. Chicken ready to be cooked. Fruit macerating. Pastry ready to be filled with macerated fruit. Pickles made. Breadcrumbs crumbed. If you're at this point and it's 5 or even 5:30, you're going to make it. You made it. So it's safe now to have a little drink. The time has come, the walrus said, to put the chicken in the oven. So put your chicken in the oven. Let's do these puff pastries. They're so simple, and they're going to blow your friends' minds. Take your squares out that you've prepared earlier, out of the fridge. Remember, they look like that. And set this down. Okay. In the center of each square, you are going to plop down some of your macerated fruit. This is a killer dessert, okay? So try to get a little bit less liquid, get more fruit than liquid, and plop a little bit down. And you're gonna put butter like this. 4, maybe 5. This is a simple egg broken into a bowl. And you're gonna take the 4 sides like this. Doesn't matter if it spills, don't freak out, and you're gonna draw them together like this and squeeze and twist, okay? Beautiful. This is a massive brush. You can use a much smaller one, or you can use wadded up paper towel. So paint, 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 paint. They're gonna explode. They're gonna go all over the place. They're gonna wreck this pan, and it's gonna be the best dessert you ever had in your life. Liberally sprinkle that with sugar. Okay, on to number 2. This is a bigger piece of pastry, so I'm going to use a little bit more. Butter, butter. Corner, 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 corner. Twist, press. It's like a little flat stork packet. Paint, 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 paint. This is good for summer or for holiday because it's very luxurious. When you cook this, some of the juice will burn and go black in the tray. Don't worry about it. It's not affecting your pastry. I'm going to return the pastries to the refrigerator because the colder a pastry is, especially puff, before you cook it, the better it puffs. And even if it's regular pastry, the better it crisps and cooks. So I'm going to go ahead and return these to the fridge. Take your cheese, and this is very difficult, it's very advanced. Put it on the plate. Make sure it's the nice side up, there you go. And if it's a perfect square, this one's a little bit angled, I would angle one edge because it looks a little bit like cheese from the deli. What I would suggest doing is something like this. Your appetizers are going to cover up any timing problems you have. So now's a good time to just get everything ready so that when they walk in, you're not doing this in front of them. Try never to be too symmetrical. Get your pickles. They've been pickling a little bit, literally. So you want to go ahead and taste one of these. Pretty good. You can adjust here if you want, if it needs a little more water. And just put this in your landing area, wherever that is, and then get back to work. Because when they come in, they sit down, you've opened the wine, they eat some snacks, they see how relaxed you are, and everything goes smoothly. Okay, so your chicken has been in for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. You've put the cheese out, you've put the nuts in a bowl. You want to open a couple bottles of wine so they're open, so you're not scrambling to open them when the people come. That's an important thing. You want to make them feel like you've been ready for them since 1 o'clock this afternoon. My feeling is if everything burns, you throw it out and you order Chinese food and you laugh. Open the wine. You act like you hate it. Try and get away because you don't hate it at all, do you? You love it. You love it. It's now time to put the potatoes in. Take a look at them, make sure the top doesn't look too dry. These look fine. If it does look too dry, just put a little more cream or stock. Put these in. And we're going to make the breadcrumbs for the Finzi Contini. You need a frying pan. And you're going to heat the pan first and then add the oil. Or as Gordon Ramsay says, hot pan, olive oil. Always in that order. The word sauté means jump. It doesn't mean lie flat like a dead thing in fat until you fall apart. Sauté means jump. So when you put the thing in to saute, it should move, it should jump and make noise, all right? So wait till this is a hot pan. It's pretty hot. Put your olive oil in, about this amount. But your greatest sign that it's hot is that it's actually bubbling, which it is. So let's see if this makes a noise when I drop it in. The piece of garlic is moving slightly. I take my rosemary, and what I'm doing is flavoring the oil with garlic and rosemary. So let this kind of, until the room smells like rosemary and garlic, and the rosemary is a little bit crispy looking, but it's not burned. You don't want to burn anything. In my opinion, that's ready. So we're going to put in the breadcrumbs. And one of the biggest mistakes that home cooks make is crowding, okay? You don't ever want to crowd stuff. Stuff doesn't want to cook like smushed up with other stuff, okay? You're going to shake your pan like this so that all the breadcrumbs are hitting the olive oil. You can do the chefy thing, right? Kind of scoop it around like that. A little bit of salt, but not much because you're going to put capers in. Put in your capers. When it starts to get, even if it's just a small section, maybe just the edges is starting to do it. This is liquidy, so you want to kind of squeeze the capers like that before you put them in. Capers. You can get kids to eat vegetables like this, by the way. You basically saute this until the breadcrumbs are very beautiful. I use bamboo skewers for a lot of stuff. I'm now going to check the chicken. It's not brown enough for me, but I think it's probably close to being done. See that juice pop out? It's clear. But I want this to be a little bit darker. I don't like the color, so I'm going to leave it. Okay, in my opinion, these are done. Some of them are less done than the other, but that's fine. They're all deliciously toasty. I'm going to dump this out to drain on a paper towel. You can see how delicious that is just from looking at it. Remove. I'm going to fish around for the garlic, and I'm going to throw that out too. And I'm going to drain this, even though it's not too oily. And eventually it's going to go on top of our vegetables. Potatoes. I'm going to put a little bit of stock because the top looks slightly dry. Not very dry. And I'm going to push that back in. So the chicken, I think, is ready. Perfect. The other thing I'm looking at is in the leg. When I push this stick in, it goes straight through with no resistance. If you think of sticking it through a raw bicep, it would be like, you'd have to really push it. If it's cooked, it just goes bleh, it just goes straight into it. This is ready. I'm taking it out. I'm going to set it here. And I'm going to tell you, all meat has to rest for at least 15 minutes. Have you ever had chicken that when you cut it, it's shred? Okay? That's because it wasn't rested. The juice of the animal is near the surface. It's freaking out because it's in the oven. If you let it rest for 15 minutes, all the liquid goes back down into the meat and resettles uniformly. So we're just going to cover this with a little piece of tin foil, and it's just going to rest quietly, sleeping, while we finish the rest of our meal. The next thing we're going to do is put in the Finzi Contini vegetables. The thing to remember with Finzi Contini is you don't want to serve it in a deep dish because the bottom will become soggy with the breadcrumbs. You want it to be like a crispy top. I'm using a small oval-shaped dish. Get all the crispy crumblies there. Okay. Come on. Who can complain? Plus, you made it with all your heart. Remember when you're cooking for people, it's also serious. I don't want to sound like a hippie, but you are nourishing people, and it's important because you're helping people stay alive when you make dinner. And it's a beautiful thing to do, and it's a beautiful gift. At this point, your guests are here, by the way. Oh, yes. Los paquetas. Just want to maybe hit them real quick with a little more egg wash. You've already got juice, so you've already got a mess coming your way. Trust me. And I'm going to put this straight into the hot oven. I'm actually going to raise it from 400 to 420 for a few minutes. Okay, everything's in the oven. What I want you to do is take your apricot preserve and just take parts of it that don't have the big pieces of apricot and dump like maybe 4 spoonfuls in here. And then you take whatever liquor you like and put a tiny amount in here. This is Calvados, which is apple liquor. Just a little bit. Low flame. Just try to remember that you have something heating here. Just mix it together, and that's going to be your glaze for your pastry. That's it. Okay? Now give me a break. You saw me make this. Look at this. Remember how easy this was? Look how this looks. Give me a break. That is a puff pastry fruit freak out. And you made that. Trust me, they're not going to forget it. Your guests are eating. You're going to take your jam that you've forgotten about, and you're just going to quickly paint these pastries. So you're just going to paint them with your Calvados and apricot jam. They don't even know what's coming, okay? And then you just put this down and you just walk back in and sit down to dinner. You made a beautiful classic roast chicken, lemon and herbs. You made broccoli and cauliflower, Finzi Contini with toasted breadcrumbs, delicious. You made a naughty potato dish with shaved potatoes and cream and stock and herbs and salt and pepper. And you even made pickles. And then to top everything off, you serve them a homemade pastry dessert. And basically that adds up to dinner party tonight. For more information on how to prepare this classic chicken dinner, please go to dinnerpartytonight.com, where you can download the instruction pack, the basic recipe, and your shopping list, which, used in conjunction with this video, will enable you to have a dinner party tonight. Oh, don't ever forget your dog, because she's very sweet and needs love too. Right, Miss Viv?